Hi, this is Garibay, and this is part of my tabletop RPG series. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to try to do a non-player character in a video. So I've played many characters. I've been blessed to be in a lot of tabletop role-playing game campaigns. And what I'd like to do is kind of roll up some of my player characters into usable non-player characters. This is my first attempt at this, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And this non-player character that I'm, proposing for use in any campaign that's a tabletop fantasy role-playing game. This would work in any version of D&D, work in Pathfinder. Is Shrike of Lemnaga, and Shrike of Lemnaga is a human archer, and he made it to 8th level, right? And so essentially he's a little different and so he is a fighter, right? Just specializing in archery. And so essentially what he did was, the thing that made him interesting, I believe, was why he adventured, right? So he adventured for a very specific reason, and that was to deliver poetry. So his thing is that each arrow that he fires has a line of a poem that he wrote, right? And so he would write poetry, and then he would take each line and write them onto arrows. And that poem is unlocked. He cannot speak it to anyone. He cannot perform it until he has buried the entire poem, line by line, into a foe, someone who was connected to oppression. He was really against slavery, really against just evil people and those who hurt the downtrodden. So he would take his poems and line by line he'd bury an arrow into someone, and so essentially each time one of those lines would draw blood, he would mark it in his notebook as available but the whole poem didn't unlock until he had buried each line into an opponent, right? So this was the entire reason he adventured, right? And so this was his thing, and so. I think he's kind of an interesting NPC because if anybody figured this out, they could actually collect his poems in a way. And so this is essentially just a fighter, human fighter, and specializing in archery. And the twist on the character himself is that he uses his adventuring for no other reason than to spread his art, right? And so I had a little bit of backstory on why he did this. So essentially, he was from a poor family. And so he would just kind of stay around a city, and there was one time where he was in a tavern, and he was just kind of helping out the barmaids for a few shillings, and there was a bard who got crazy drunk, and a bard who really had quite a few levels actually, like any bard, had the ability to hurt people and also had the ability to perform. And he saw a bard get really upset and really drunk, and explain to another unfortunate adventurer who happened to be close, that art comes from pain. And so this bard just beat the living snot out of one of the adventurers who was close to him, not because he had done anything wrong, but just because this bard was really upset and really drunk. And just with each line, with each line of a poem he was reciting, he would punch this guy and cause him pain. And he was trying to tell this person that the life of a bard is difficult because art is hard and art is pain. And so Shrike of Lemnaga witnessed this, and he really took it to heart. And so he's carrying this bard's idea forward. Now the bard, I think, is actually he's kind of a tie-in for Shrike of Lemnaga. And one of the things I wanted to do with the character was that Shrike would actually find he's always looking for the art of this single bard, and see if he could find any of his songs, or even people who could tell them about his performances, because the bard just kind of traveled on, and Shrike never got to see him again. It was one singular event. So that's kind of an adventure hook with it for Shrike himself. Now, one of the things that's interesting is I couldn't get there because Shrike was killed. He was killed by another player character. So there was a cleric in my group, and actually it was a great game, really fantastic. I'm very blessed to play in a really very awesome Pathfinder game, and we got into some issues in the game, and actually for one of this cleric, actually him and Shrike got into it at one point, and so the cleric Actually, I don't min-max my characters, so obviously I write them for story. And so I was playing against this guy who had a max cleric, and they were both at 8th level, right? And so essentially, this cleric actually struck Shrike and killed him in one blow. And so the player was shocked because he was like, "Oh, I was just striking you to, tell you back down. You just kind of startle you into stopping whatever you were doing." And it killed him in one blow. Killed, the HP went he went -30 or something. He was quite dead. And so, but I don't mind a character dying out very, very early. And actually, what I did was I took the non-player. I took the NPC Codex, the Pathfinder NPC Codex, and this is a great lesson too, man. I was so excited about this. I love the Pathfinder NPC Codex. Phenomenal book, one of the best. I think it was the best tabletop role-playing game book produced in 2013. And so when my Shrike of Lemnaga died, we're in the middle of a campaign and my character's gone, I just turned to page 68 or whatever the page was and pulled out Olin Jack the Axe, and he was a dwarven guild master and like a rogue, and I was able to play him just right there. I didn't miss 10 minutes of play, which was really, really wonderful. And so I was just able to keep going. And so the death of the character was cool, and me and that other player were cool as well. But it was really fun. So I hope you enjoy Shrike of Lemnaga, and I hope maybe you can use him as an NPC in your game and really kind of flesh him out. And if you do, let me know if Shrike of Lemnaga lives on into other adventures. And hopefully I'll have more of these non-player characters in a video. Hope you enjoy. Take care.